older adults are much more vulnerable to these viruses, deadly complications, sending you to the hospital, sending you to the intensive care unit, having you fight for your life with respiratory failure and needing life supportive interventions. The statistics make that clear. The older adults are the most vulnerable population. But the other side to this is me as a clinician. I work in the intensive care units. I'm going to run it this weekend, for instance. This is where I see a lot of older adults fighting for their lives with pneumonia from the flu or pneumonia from COVID-19. In the back of my mind, we'll do what we can. We want to help them, and they have a long recovery afterwards if we can save them. But these are preventable hospitalizations. The vaccine's job is to keep these older adults out of the hospital and at home where they should be with their families.
Hey everyone, this is Jonathan Marks from Go to Health. I hope you're doing well today. If you're an adult 50 years or older, listen up. We've got some good advice for you for the fall season. As temperatures drop, respiratory illnesses like flu, COVID-19, pneumococcal disease, and RSV tend to spread more easily. Older adults and individuals with underlying medical conditions are at higher risk for severe illness if you're infected. The American Lung Association says vaccines offer the best protection against serious respiratory illnesses, helping older adults live fuller lives and avoid long recovery times. Getting vaccinated helps reduce the spread of respiratory illnesses, especially for those most vulnerable. With us to talk about this today is Dr. Panagis Galiatsatos, MD. He's the national spokesperson for the American Lung Association. He's an expert in the diagnosis and treatment of obstructive lung disease, tobacco cessation, and in the care of critically ill patients in the ICU. He's an associate professor at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, where he currently co-directs Medicine for the Greater Good and is currently the Community Engagement Co-Director of the Baltimore Breathe Center. Before we bring on the doctor, we want to keep bringing you stories and insights you love. Help us out, please, by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or a thumbs up on YouTube, or wherever you're listening to us. It helps other dedicated listeners like you find us. Thanks in advance. So welcome to the show, Dr. G. How are you today?
I am great. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you, Jonathan, today, and especially to your listeners. So thank you. Glad to be here.
Good. So why is getting vaccinated an important activity for older adults this fall?
Oh, I'm going to answer that question in 2 ways. One, the statistics. Older adults are much more vulnerable to these viruses, deadly complications, sending you to the hospital, sending you to the intensive care unit, having you fight for your life with respiratory failure and needing life supportive interventions. The statistics make that clear. The older adults are the most vulnerable population. But the other side to this is me as a clinician. I work in the intensive care units. I'm going to run it this weekend, for instance. This is where I see a lot of older adults fighting for their lives with pneumonia from the flu or pneumonia from COVID-19. In the back of my mind, we'll do what we can. We want to help them, and they have a long recovery afterwards if we can save them. But these are preventable hospitalizations. The vaccine's job is to keep these older adults out of the hospital and at home where they should be with their families.
So you treat critically ill patients in the ICU. I want you to help me a little bit and scare people. I mean, what is it like to see patients in the ICU with these diseases who haven't been vaccinated?
No, it's tough. And at some point, your physicians, your doctors, your nurses, we not that we get numb to it. We see it day in and day out, and we're able to kind of compartmentalize it, right? So we can be there in the proximity of a human being who is fighting for their life. But every family member who comes in and sees their loved one with a breathing tube in them, in a medically induced coma, so that we can let the breathing machine do all the breathing as their lungs rest, I don't know if it can ever leave their mind. For many families, they leave with PTSD because of what they saw their dad go through or their mom go through or what their grandparents are going through. And for that individual too, keep in mind, saving their life is oftentimes just one chapter in what the flu does to them. Right, the complications after a really bad lung infection from these respiratory viruses, it can lead permanent damage to your lungs, to your brain, right? Because it's just a systemic complication. So I'm never one to fear, right? And I appreciate the concept of kind of, can we scare you into the vaccines? I'm more into kind of the reality of it, right? We have great modern interventions to keep people alive, but they come with consequences both to mental health and to physical health. And what breaks my heart is they're all preventable. A simple vaccine will transform your flu and COVID into kind of a bad cold. Yes, you'll be miserable for a few days, but miserable at home, not miserable with me in the intensive care unit as we're discussing putting a breathing tube in you.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. So, given that, doctor, what respiratory vaccines are recommended for adults over 50 and where can you get them?
Yes. So which ones were recommended, right? So we have two that get annually updated, your flu and your COVID-19. And those are recommended right now. I would say if you're listening to us and as soon as it ends, go ahead and go to the pharmacy if you're an older adult and seek them out, right? And especially to prepare yourself before the holidays kick in, where you're traveling or around a lot of family in close proximity, and you're wondering if the air ventilation is optimized enough to keep these viruses from getting to you. Likely not. So get the vaccine. So those are the two that I would recommend right now. Outside of that, for older adults 50 to 74, talk to your doctor about the RSV vaccine. Does it make sense for you to get it? We do really recommend it for older adults of that age group if they have underlying heart or lung conditions or maybe some other health complication. If you're 75 or older, go back to running back to the pharmacy, right? We highly recommend the RSV vaccine. And around January, February, we tend to see the RSV infections lead the way in sending older adults into the hospital and especially into the intensive care unit. One thing about the RSV vaccine, though, it's been out for about 3 years. And what we've noticed is it survives those antibodies, the protection, for a minimum of 3 years. So if you have not gotten it, consider getting it now. One other vaccine to put out on the table, and it's not around a respiratory virus, it's actually around a respiratory bacteria, the pneumococcal vaccine. It used to cause so much pneumonia back in the day that we called it that. We called it Streptococcus pneumoniae because of all the lung infections it would cause as a bacteria. We have great vaccines against it. But for this one, I would say run first to your primary care clinician. The reason being is there's just a lot of varieties of them, so they can help you decide which one makes sense for you.
Now, you just mentioned these four vaccines. Am I supposed to get these every year, or you mentioned the RSV every 3 years? How do I know when to get
Yep.
these?
Well, a couple ways to always be mindful of when do I get the right vaccines for me. One is a good primary care clinician will help guide you along the ways. Two, websites, local resources like your health department or the American Lung Association's website, lung.org. They have a great listing of these vaccines and the timing of when you should get them. Because you're right, some vaccines are annual. Your COVID and your flu are just like that. Getting them right around now, and you'll have protection for the upcoming season. RSV, so far, what we see is a one in every three, maybe longer, plus years. And the
Hmm.
pneumococcal vaccine has its own kind of timelines as well, depending on what you get. So a good primary care clinician, online resources like lung.org, that's what I would send all my patients. Actually, I would send all Americans to, just so you can make the right decisions for your health.
Got it. Now, do I need a prescription for these, or can I just walk into a pharmacy and get these vaccines?
Yeah, so for COVID and flu, if you fall under the general guidelines that the government has put out, like the CDC, as well as other kind of medical societies from the American Academy of Family Medicine to the American College of Physicians, that's the big one for internists. These are recommended for the general population and especially emphasized for older adults. You can walk in and you should be able to request it. I will always say, though, trust but verify. You're always welcome to call your insurance companies and just confirm, hey, I'm going in to get this. Is it
Yes.
okay? And they usually should oblige by it. The other component to the cost is for certain vaccines like RSV, it's not just having the age, it's also having some underlying health conditions. So I would call your primary care clinician to have that conversation. RSV for 75 and older, you're welcome to go to local pharmacy and get it. But for other vaccines, there can be a bit of a caveat around what health conditions you have.
So, what else should we know about the vaccines? What questions haven't I asked that I should ask, or what message would you like to
Oh,
leave people today,
yeah,
doctor?
no, this is my favorite one, right? Because look, every human being, every American wants to stay safe and healthy. And at times they may get angry with the vaccines. And I see this constantly in my clinic. They'll come in and say, Doc, I got the flu vaccine last year, and then I got the flu. I'm not getting it this year. And so I have a heart to heart with them because It's a misconception of an understanding of what these vaccines are meant to do. These vaccines are not meant to prevent infection. They're meant to prevent a severe complication of the infection. So let me give an analogy here, right? You get in your car, you put on a seatbelt. You get on a bicycle, you put on a bike helmet. You know those actions don't prevent car accidents. They don't prevent falls off the bike. But you do it because you know if you get into a car accident or if you fall off your bike, the complication on your health will be minimized. That's what these vaccines do. They're your seatbelt. They're your bike helmet. They're not going to prevent an infection, but they'll keep you from seeing me in the intensive care unit. That's why we advocate for them. These vaccines allow every human being to fight off these viral seasonal infections well, right? Staying at home, living your life a few days later.
Good. I'm so glad you made that distinction because I know I've heard a lot of criticisms of vaccines. Well, I got the vaccine and I got sick. But your point is that these vaccines will keep you out of the hospital and keep you from dying.
Correct. It's like saying, oh, I put on my seatbelt and I still got into a car accident. Right. That's not the seatbelt's intention, is to prevent it. But you're alive to talk about it and criticize it. That's the goal of the seatbelt. That's the goal of the vaccine.
Good, good, good. Great. Any other thing I should ask or any other message you want to leave us with today, Doctor?
Yes, last one. And, so many of your listeners will say, well, how do I go and find these vaccines? I always advocate for 3 resources: your primary care clinician, your local health department. Don't dismiss them. They may tell you, oh, there's a great flu vaccine drive at this church or at this school. I always advocate for them. And then finally, consider the American Lung Association's website, lung.org, just so you can stay updated with your own schedule and where you can find these resources.
Good. Thanks so much for being with us today, Doctor. This is an important message, and I'm happy to help get this out.
I appreciate it, Jonathan. Thank you so much. An honor.
Good. We've been talking with Dr. Panagis Galiatsatos. He's MD and he's the national spokesperson for the American Lung Association. He's an expert in the diagnosis and treatment of obstructive lung disease, tobacco cessation, and in the care of critically ill patients in the ICU. He's also an associate professor at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, where he currently co-directs the Medicine for Greater Good and is the community engagement co-director for the Baltimore Breathe Center. Thanks so much for being with us today, Doctor. It's been great to have you.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Take care.
Good. This has been Jonathan Marks with Go to Health. And as we say at the end of every show, thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time, and go to health. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in today to Go to Health. You are one of almost 10,000 people per day who enjoy the evidence-based health information offered by our guest health experts. You can watch us on our website and YouTube and listen to us on 8 podcast networks. Be sure to join Jonathan Marks in our upcoming shows each week. If you like our show, please share this episode with your friends and colleagues. You can subscribe to the show, join our email list, send us feedback, browse through the online store, and view our library of over 150 shows at gotohealthmedia.com. See you next time, and remember to elevate your life with Go to Health.